All right, so now we have our new two topics, right? One topic for career management and one topic for PTO management. So now we need to create our agent actions, right? Which again, because we have our new MuleSoft API, right, with all that data that will allow users to retrieve PTO balances, schedule PTO, and so on, as well as retrieve career goals. Now we can actually go ahead and create our new actions. And because we're calling our API, right, we're going to create agent actions of type Apex, right? For those of you who are not used to Apex, Apex is the Salesforce Pro code language, pretty similar to Java and C#. And because we're using our coding agent, Claude Code, we actually don't need to have much experience with those. We can just point to documentation pages and explain what we're trying to build. So let me show you what we should do next. All right, so to create agent actions of type Apex, right, for our use case here, we don't want to look at the documentation page. We're going to add the links below our video here as well on how to create those. So it's a specific type of Apex class, right, with some invocable methods. And those invocable methods will be available for Agentforce agents to invoke with agent actions associated with topics. In our case, we want the agent response to look something like this. So we want to create like some UI on the agent panel for every response. So in this case, for the PTO balance, we want to return this widget with logo and a button that will allow the users to see more details on my full application as well. So I created this with Figma, but you guys can use any image editing application to create those. You just need to export as an image. So we know that we need to create an Apex class, right, for each action, right, for each endpoint of our API. So those will become individual actions, right? Get PTO, schedule PTO, get career goals. Those will be 3 different Apex classes like this. And we created a mockup of our agent response. I also want to show you guys that in order to render that UI widget inside the agent panel, we use Lightning Web Components. So Lightning Web Components is a JavaScript library that allows the creation of UI inside the Salesforce platform. So here's a documentation page for that as well. We're going to provide all these documentation pages to Claude Code together with our mockup. And Lightning Web Components, or LWCs, also have a lot of standard building blocks that Salesforce creates. So it's really easy for Claude Code to put together what we're asking it to put together for our UI widget for our agent responses as well. Also, now that we have our API published on MuleSoft, we also can provide the API information to Claude Code together with that recipe of what we're trying to create in terms of agent actions. So if you go to your design center in any point, and if you click on your API, on your new API, so if you click on Exchange, you can click on Open in Exchange, and you will be able to see the documentation page, the public documentation page for your new API. So you want to grab that URL as well and give all these URLs to Claude Code as a prompt mentioning what exactly you're trying to build. So let's suppose we're going to create that agent action, that Apex class that will allow an agent action to be created for users to fetch their PTO balances. So let's go back to Claude Code. All right, so back to VS Code. Here's our prompt, right? I'm trying to call a REST API that I hosted on MuleSoft from an Apex class in Salesforce in order to expose into a new Agentforce agent application. Here is my API URL for the specification. So you provide your URL for a new MuleSoft API. I'm trying to call the /balance get endpoint from this new Apex class. The new Apex class needs to be built according to this documentation page URL. So you provide the URL for the documentation page from Salesforce with these invocable methods in order to expose it to a new agent action. Also, for the agent response, I need to create a new Lightning type. So you provide the documentation page for how to create a new Lightning type, and add a new Lightning Web component. So you provide any documentation pages that are useful for Claude Code on how to build LWCs that will render this attached widget. So this is where I pasted that mockup that I created with Figma, with the information from my API endpoint response in terms of number of hours that users have on their PTO balances. Can you help me build all these so I can deploy to Salesforce, right? So I added these prompts, and let's see what Claude Code is trying to do. So yeah, I'll help you build this Apex class, LWC, Lightning type, etc. Is asking me here, do you want the allow Claude Code to fetch this content? So I can hit yes. And then you notice that Claude Code is gonna look at all those documentation pages and start building all these components for me. And we should see them start popping here on the folder structure here inside our Salesforce DX project. So let's see what it does. And let's change it to accept edits on. So you can allow Claude Code to not keep asking you for authorization for everything just by hitting Shift Tab on your keyboard and moving to this accept edits on mode. All right, so let's see the classes it is creating. So if you go to Force App and then classes, notice it's creating the Apex classes for the API calls and so on. So you can see what the coding agent is doing here on this window, and then look at the files it's creating on your Explorer pane in VS Code as well. It's creating the Lightning Web component for me. Those will be here under this LWC page. So look at that. We already have an HTML and a JavaScript file. We just created the CSS file as well. All right. Now it's creating the Lightning type definition. So we can render this Lightning Web component inside an agent response. So it created the Lightning types folder structure, and it's going to create the different files inside of it as well, as it's doing right now. All right, so it even says, okay, the files are ready to deploy. Here's what I built. Thank you, Claude Code. Deploy to Salesforce, and you would say yes, and then it would use your Salesforce CLI to deploy to Salesforce. And for sake of time, because I have already done that, let me show you how you can create a new agent action now that you have the Apex classes, the LWC, and the Lightning types created and deployed with Claude Code's help. All right, so back on our Scratch org, when you go to setup, you type it in Agentforce, and then you click on Agentforce assets to create a new agent action. You notice that the topics tab will be selected by default, so you want to click on the actions tab. And here, all the actions created by Salesforce or created by other developers and that are synced to this Scratch org will show up on this list. But you want to create a new one, right, of type Apex. So you click on New Agent Action button, and then you choose Apex for the action type. And here, you're going to choose Invocable Method for the action category. And now you will be able to see all the Apex classes that have invocable methods, right? So you want to find the one that we just created with the help of Claude Code. So it's called get PTO balance, right? So you can leave the name the way it is, click on next. And here you can provide some instructions. So same thing as we did before, we can ask Claude Code to basically help us fill in all these. So let's do that real quick. All right, so here's my screenshot of the create new agent action screen. All right, so my prompt can be something like, help me fill out this information for a new Agentforce action that I'm creating to allow users to fetch their PTO balances. The user does not need to provide any input, and the agent action should show in the Agentforce conversational panel and provide a response. And then I can paste that clip, that image, right, that I took a screenshot. So let's see what Claude says here. I'm gonna click on show in conversation. And here, since we're creating a LWC response, the output rendering needs to be changed, right, to the new lightning type that we created for that to call that LWC, basically to show the agent response from our API. So you want to make sure you select the same lightning type that Claude Code created for us as the output rendering of our new action. All right. So I'm not going to do that because I haven't created it already, but let me show you how to add that to your agent. All right. So first you need to open your agent by clicking on this right pane and saying open in builder. This will open up the agent inside the agent builder, right, where we'll see the topics we created on the previous steps. And let's say we want to add a new action to the PTO management topic, right? So we click on that topic, and then we click on these topics actions, and we click on new, and then we want to add it from asset library, right? And here is where we're going to find that new action that we just created. So get PTO balance, and then just finish, right? So once we do that, we can now start interacting with our agent, and our agent is gonna understand that we wanna the reasoning engine to invoke this topic, PTO management, and to invoke this action, get PTO balance, which is gonna call our MuleSoft API and return a response to our users. So let me show you how that looks like. You can actually interact with your agent here on this builder mode when you're testing. So you want to make sure you activate your agent before you test it outside of agent builder. You can click ignore and activate. Now let's leave the site. Let's go back to CRM, for example, Sales Cloud. And now I'm going to open Agentforce here on the top right. And let's test asking the agent, what is my PTO balance? All right, so there you go. So we have our agent, invoking our agent topic in our new agent action, which is invoking our API to return the number of hours that this user here who's interacting with the agent has on their PTO balance, and they can click on view on partner app to see more details on an external app. So this is the process to create your first agent action. Really, to create the other agent actions is the same process. You would ask Claude Code to create the different Apex classes. You would create the different agent actions based on those Apex classes, pointing to your API endpoints. Let me show you what the other action looks like, because I have already done that for this demo. So schedule new PTO. So once I ask that, the agent then presents this other Lightning Web component that allows me to select the days for my PTO. So the start and end day, and click on schedule. So it schedules, it hits my API, and it creates a new PTO schedule using my API inside my Postgres database. The last step that we haven't shared yet, we haven't talked about much, is how to expose the same agent in Slack. right? So let me show you how that looks in Slack. So going back to, right, so in order to connect Agentforce with your Slack environment, you need to follow some steps here. You need to download a managed package inside Salesforce. You also need to go and set up on both Salesforce and Slack and connect both orgs. So there are a couple of steps here that are needed. And before you can expose your Agentforce agent in Slack. So I will share the links here for this documentation page so you guys can try on your end as well. But let me show you how, after following all these steps, we can see our agent interact with our agent inside Slack as well. All right, so here I am inside my Slack instance. I have already followed all those steps to connect my Slack instance to Salesforce and to expose my Agentforce agent. So once you do that, you'll see that this Agentforce button here shows up on the left pane in Slack, and users can access the same agent that we created, Agentforce HR agent, inside Slack as well. And Slack even presents some examples of how users can interact with this agent. So let's ask, for example, what are my next career goals? This is an Apex based agent action that I created as well, following the same steps that we did creating our PTO fetch balance agent action as well. So once we do that, in the background, this is creating integration with our Salesforce instance. And here's the response, right? So it's my next career goal for these specific users to build an Agentforce agent using the new MCP protocol for integrations, which is pretty cool. So this is coming from our API, from our Postgres database. All right, so that's pretty much it. I hope that that was comprehensive on how to use vibe coding to create like this complex Agentforce integration and exposing your agents in multiple channels. So back to you, Antoine.
This was awesome. Now, if you liked this part, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Finally, my call to action is for you to head to the description, find the GitHub repository where all Rodrigo's code is exposed and made available for you to fork and experiment, build on top of it. Tell us what you think. Drop a comment, and I hope to see you in the next video.